throughout the nation and around the globe. From his heart to yours, it's Dearjames Live, bringing you intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions.
Hello, everybody.
There we are. We're live.
We are
Finally.
back live. Yay. This should give us what a joy. What a joy. The arrested development of it all.
So there we go. This is this week's show in action of what it looks like to navigate the current energies right now. The fabulous Dearjames was making some moves and we managed to get onto Zoom, and hopefully the live is a lot better. So those of you that are joining us live, please drop us a comment and let us know if the recording it's going to be recorded, if the stream is doing a lot better than it was. We don't know what happened. It was a technical glitch, but that pretty much shows kind of like an intro into what we were talking about, which is the current energies at the moment. We don't know what is going on, but we just know that we are going to get through it. Right?
Exactly. This is the current energy. This is what we were speaking about, which is so juicy, and it's so interesting because it's spot on, Jaclyn, in terms of this energy of arrested development. And arrested meaning to stop or check the progress or the process of something. And that's exactly what was happening. It kept stopping us. And we're checking and we're checking and we're checking, but it's stopping us. It's arresting the development.
And you know, it was so beautiful because while we were doing that, it gave me some time. And then I actually thought about it. Actually, hold on. We're grounded in the gate 58. And what is the gate 58? It's all about mastery. So it's about connecting to connecting to the joy of life, but knowing that it's through mastery that you actually get to experience joy. And this is exactly what we're doing. We're kind of mastering the art of being patient while things sometimes seemingly don't go as planned, but you know what? It works out in the end. And instead of getting flustered, like hot and flustered and bothered and frustrated that things aren't working out, we're kind of showing up in an authentic way. And we're loving life. We're loving the process of it because you know what? We can only get better.
Exactly. We can only get better. And that is so true of this energy, that there is something more, something better arriving, imminent. And thereby, here's this arrested development, this theme of arrested development. And I'm going to jump in just to recap really quickly, Jaclyn, and then you
Please
jump
do.
in, because this is, to use our Lady Jaclyn's term, it's so juicy. This is so juicy. And I'm like, why is this not getting out? So when we sat down, when I listened to the current energies, the first thing was the theme of arrested development, this stop or check the progress or process of something. Then they said the culmination, a long time coming. And so we're at this culmination, and it was all of the numbers. When we look at all of the numbers, I'm going to give you the hexagrams that we've been seeing. It was this overwhelming awareness, knowing that it's a culmination moment. It's all of these numbers, these energies coming together at once, they're saying. And then it said a long time coming, and they underlined the word coming. And so it's both a long time coming, meaning we're finally arriving at something, and this long time coming, and we can relate that, as I said in the first part of the show, this arrival, this second coming, or this coming. And when we say that, not from a biblical standpoint, but from an end of an end of an era, an end of a time, an end of a way, the culmination of that, and then the arrival of this long time coming, this coming that's arriving. And so they were there, and then they said to us, we're witnessing the reflection of our own making. And so again, whether this is micro or macro, whether this is our individual lives, our communities, our friendships, our governments, our institutions, we're witnessing the reflection of our own making. And we apply that with the United States is experiencing its Pluto return. It happens every 246 years. No human walking the planet now will experience a Pluto return. But governments, institutions that have been here for centuries will, and millennia. And so, and there was this beautiful tie to the fact that, so the US is experiencing its Pluto return, and the United States was known to be, or was the ideal is the greater hope and ideal of the new world. That's what America stood for. It was this new hope, new ideal of the new world. And so we're witnessing the reflection of our own making. And this applies in our own lives. How we're witnessing, if we're coming up with stuff, shadow stuff, positive, great stuff, we're seeing the reflection of our own making. Then they gave us all the numbers, all of the hexagrams. So 6, which we've been experiencing, conflict and destiny. 11, peace, harmony, flow of good things. 17, following, be led, your soul source connection. 22, adorning, grace, beauty from the inside out. 23, this splitting apart from something. So literally this splitting apart of a way, of an era, of an old way, so as to arrive somewhere. 29, dangerous depths, the abyss. And they often talk about that hexagram, like when you experience danger, but you move past it quickly, as opposed to staying in the danger. So it's that kind of like, do you move past it because it's purposeful? And I just want to go to, and then we'll come back to this. So hexagram 11 is the main one. It sums all of this up that we've been experiencing this morning and the overall theme. And hexagram 11, which is about peace, harmony, the flow of good things. And it says, and it's spelled T-A-I, so I'm not sure if it's Tay or Tai, but Tay is the name of a sacred mountain where the emperor performed sacrifices in order to harmonize the great spirits with man and invite their power into human life. The ancient character shows a human figure, hands upraised as if an offering, and a river flowing down. So the name Tay means harmony, great powers, the flow of good things. Flowing, small goes, great comes. Good fortune, creating the success. So when we look at this, we can look at maybe our known history and life and of humanity and everything, 2,000 plus years. Small things go, great things come. And it says, carried by the current of that river thundering down Mount Tay, small concerns dwindle away, and the energy to achieve great things pours in. It can be exhilarating, but it can also be overwhelming, as things that had never before seemed small to us vanish down the river. When we're given this hexagram unchanging, especially the question of how or whether we can interact with such a force comes to the forefront. It can sometimes mean being confronted with life and death issues that set the rest of life firmly in perspective. And we were talking about that, the hangman card perspective. You talked about it in terms of, you had a quote and everything, which you'll want to bring back up, Jaclyn, because it's here it is.
Here it is. So it's Karen Curry Parker. So it's her beautiful quantum human design. So let me quickly just read the quote.
Yes.
She calls the gate 52, because the gate 52 is in the sun at the moment, and she calls it the perspective. In traditional human design, it's the gate of stillness, and that's also a theme that comes through, which is quite beautiful because it correlates so magnificently to what you were saying. But the quote is the ability to see the bigger perspective and purpose of what is going on around you, and to know exactly where to focus your energy and attention to facilitate the unfolding of what is next. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the idea of stillness, because in order for you to really understand what's next, you got to get still. And right now, you're grounded in that mastery of I don't want to say perfecting, because there's no such thing as perfect, but mastering the art of stillness so that you can tune in to the now moment and receive the answer. And it's also the joy of that mastery. So it's not about being too serious or trying to force and control. Like, this is what we've been speaking about weeks on end, that feminine energy that's coming through. And it's not gender. It's like that that true essence of being in a state of allowing or receiving. So, and I'm speaking to myself at the moment because there is a lot happening right now. Like there is a lot of chaos, there's a lot of noise. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling uncertain, if you're asking disempowering why questions because you're curious like me and you've got that shadow side as well, it's kind of checking in with yourself and going, hang on, how do I get through this? I'm reminded of stillness. I'm reminded of the mastery of joy. I'm reminded of the unique perspective, the perspective that I choose to have, looking at the overall, like you said, the overall, the bigger picture, not focusing so much on the small, because the small has to go, and kind of looking at the opportunities and the possibilities of what is here for us and what's available, what's coming. And it is coming. I mean, like I think it was last week and the week before, you keep speaking about, don't be late to the party. It's about that idea of, this beautiful opportunities that are coming. And we briefly spoke just before the first attempt at the live. And I mentioned to you, I watched a video last night about the super full moon that's happening on the 13th of July. And it is, I think it is Uranus and Mars is conjunct in the sign of Taurus, and that this astrological event only occurred in this exact configuration 2,300 years ago. I think it was like Alexander the Great when he basically did what he did that way back when. That was the same energy, but with the conjunct, with Uranus and Mars conjunct, 2007 and 1991 were very significant times, even though they were in different signs. That energy shows us what is what is the opportunities that are potential and potent for us. Like if you think of 2007 was a social media boom, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then 1991 was www, like the World Wide Web came on board. So it's all these big, beautiful opportunities that are there, and it's kind of now knowing there's always going to be polarity. You have to have light to understand darkness and darkness to understand light, but it's where you're focusing your energy and perspective on, and that is the theme that is really coming strongly towards or for us. It's available for us this week and in perpetuity.
And when you were speaking to that as well, those elements that you mentioned are great advancement. So they are these moments of great leaps, of great advancement, of great expansion, and that's what this energy holds. And as you were saying, not being in the chaos of it, but being in 11. Hexagram 11 is about peace, harmony, being in the flow of good things, being in the eye of the hurricane, the center of the storm, where it's calm, where you can literally connect and hear and be at one with your soul self. Because otherwise, you're in the chaos, you're in the periphery of the chaos on the outside, on the peripheral. And just to finish up with these, because it says after the perspective, it's just this piece of this aspect of the experience comes out clearly in its hidden core. The nuclear of hexagram 54, the Marian Maiden, she is swept off her feet, hoisted without ceremony out of her comfort zone and up into a realm of far greater possibilities, but one altogether beyond her control. She's being lifted out of what she knows and being raised to a far greater possibility, to a higher realm. And it says, so is this loss of control a hidden danger of hexagram 11? Perhaps. Or perhaps it's something you have to experience to know flow from the inside out. However we experience it, hexagram 11, is a positive force. And with small taming and treading, which are hexagrams 9 and 10, behind it, it does actually hold out the promise of peace. Treading and also flowing mean that tranquility follows. So you can see here, there's this whole theme of being raised, being plucked out of what we know and raised to a higher octave, to a greater possibility, this expansion that you were talking about in terms of the timing of the full moon, the conjunction that's very rare, and this culmination, this culminating point in time that is upon us. And how do we flow with it or not? How do we go with the flow? And go with the flow meaning advance. Not go with the flow in, oh, yes, everything's going backwards. That's an illusion. That's just the rearing of the head of the old before the advancement, before the plucking out of and moving to a higher octave, a higher possibility.
Yeah, it's a disempowering perspective.
It feels
That's
that way,
kind of,
right? Because
again,
we're not in control.
exactly. So it's kind of checking in. I think the themes for this week, but also it's like we're building a puzzle together each week, and it's so beautiful because you spoke about this up leveling, like you're being plucked out into the newness. And a couple of weeks back, we spoke about this. We spoke about the fact that the universe, if it feels like there's a lot of chaos, it feels like the carpet is literally getting pulled from under you, it's because the universe wants to give you more, and it's preparing you to embrace the moreness, the upgraded level or version of yourself, right? And the things that you're wanting or things that your soul's desiring. So everything is all about transformation, and it's easy sometimes said than done, because if you look at this current situation that we're in, there's a lot happening. I mean, there's inflation, there's rules and regulations, there's control, here in South Africa, it's like stage 6 load shedding, stop it. Like, there's a lot happening, right? And it's easy to get lost in that, but this is why it's so beautiful. It's like we're getting physical reminders, practical reminders of going, okay, hold on, amongst all this chaos, what is actually happening? It is for you to master the ability of where you're focusing your attention by having a better perspective. It's about knowing and understanding the bigger story. It's about mastering the art of joy. You're speaking about flow. I wanted to kind of mention on Karen Curry Parker's, I use her reference points, and it's so beautiful because she has such a nice, elegant way of like saying things, or explaining the gates. And the gate 58, which is where we're grounded because it's in the earth, she calls it the joy of mastery, but she actually writes here to live in the flow of joy. And you're talking the whole time about that flow. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we really cannot make this stuff up. Like, even if we tried, even through all of the
We
crises and the
cannot.
turmoil, it's purpose, there's reason, right? So it's kind of like maintaining that focus. It's like maintaining the ship's course, or maintaining the ship as you go through and are redirected, and as you kind of like getting bombarded through all the ailments. That's kind of like that visual representation of what's happening. And we had like a micro version of the macro of what's really happening out there. We're kind of experiencing it now with the swap and changes of the lives. So I think it's really powerful energy, but I think it's really beautiful reminder. Like, I cannot wait to see what unfolds in the next like 3 months, 3 to 6 months. I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful if we're in the same space where beautiful opportunities and things like, if you look back at history of what was created and invented and how our lives changed. I mean, imagine, we're going to sit back and look back at this like 3 to 6 months later and go, did we ever imagine this? Well, no.
And
Right?
look at, and I'm mindful, Jaclyn, of we're literally living the physical example, as you just said. And what's coming to my awareness in the moment is we literally normally do this as a simulcast. We use Restream that simulcasts out to the various different social media platforms and so forth. And we literally had to switch. So we were stopped, arrested development, stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to literally change platforms. We went from Restream to Zoom. This is a literal example of this current energy and what's on tap, and not to be late to the party, because the old is the old. And I'm not using that analogy in terms of Restream. We're just using that in the sense of an analogy of an old way, or an older, an existing old way. And we had to leave that, plucked out of it. Literally, we're plucked out of it. What do we do to come back live? Oh, we go to let's go to this platform. Okay, so we go to the new. That's a literal example of what this energy is and what they're talking about. And the way to do this, flow. Be in the flow of where you're going. Not where And it's interesting because there is that beautiful quote, right? With the disciples at one point after Master Jesus had ridden, they said, "Where are we going? Where are we going?" Because of course he's risen, right? Okay, well, and he says to them, "You ask where you're going without knowing where you've been." And here's the poignancy of that in this moment. It's a culmination. It's a witnessing of the reflection of our own making. It's a looking at, it's a stopping of a time, of a process, so as to see, and we're really seeing, if you look at world events playing out right now, some percentage of humanity wants to go back, wants to go somewhere where they've been. And another huge percentage and portion want to advance and go forward. And so it's to see our reflection. Where have we been? So in this paradigm, in this operating system, in this platform, individually, collectively, the whole shebang, where are we? Where have we been? So as to know where we're going.
Mm.
It's a mic drop moment if you ever.
Yep. I'm just literally sitting in that awe of, okay, show me. Like,
Anticipation,
okay, show me.
right? Yeah.
Yes, anticipation, curiosity, like a kid waiting because something, like the night before Christmas, almost. Like that would be a nice, beautiful analogy of, you don't know what's coming, but it's something spectacular and it's going to be cool, and you don't really have the expectation because it's not about the expectation, but it's this knowingness
Anticipation.
of, anticipation of going, ooh, this is exciting stuff. So it's, I kind of want to, my last point as we end off is, I want to remind everyone that you have the opportunity, or you have the choice at least, to either fill your tank up by directing your energy towards the anticipation of the opportunities, of the newness, of all the juiciness, as I like to say, or
Yeah.
you can get lost and jump on the fear train. And we know that that's not the way to go, because you've probably been there, done that, right? You've worn that t-shirt. So choose to focus and to drive your energy into empowering yourself by really reveling in the anticipation of what's next. And even if you don't know what's next, trust in the what's next, because you trust in the bigger picture, in the plan, like we spoke about weeks on end. That's that invitation that I want to remind you and myself of, actually. As I'm saying it, I'm like, are you listening to yourself?
Right. And one, I would say it this way, the way they're giving it to me is, we are either embodying and embracing the new, the advancement of humanity, the expansion, the higher octave of it, all of this that is on tap for us. You're either doing that, or you are in fear of it. And you are trying to cling to something that is already gone, that has already happened and occurred. And thereby you're in one of two camps. And as they have said over and over and over again about not being late to the party, it's not like, don't be late to the prison and the hard labor camp. It's the party, the celebration, the expansion, the joy of something. So if you are in fear of the future, of the new, do your best to come into a state of peace and harmony and flow and oneness with the new. That will ensure your arrival, your invitation, everyone's invited. And yet not everybody will choose to do so. So absolutely, whatever your soul is choosing, it's just, when there's a question, not if, let's remove the word if. When in doubt, really listen to your soul center. Really listen to your soul source connection. And should that spark of the divine speak to you, should that spark of anticipation and glory and renewal and all that good stuff speak to you, walk this way, go that way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if it doesn't, it doesn't. So be it. That's for each soul to decide.
100%. What a beautiful message. And thank you. Thank you for your perseverance and for having the beautiful, empowering perspective of the fact that we can still deliver a powerful message that obviously needed to come through. So I'm so grateful that we're able to still share, and we're able to still hold space for one another, and for all of you that are listening as well. As always, from my side, is absolutely a pleasure. And I'm super excited to look back at this video and go, oh, yes, this is us like waiting. And now we know what it is.
I mean, literally, like against all odds, we're like, no, this message needs to come out. We're going to figure out. And so for everyone with us, thank you for your grace, your patience, your perseverance, for going with the flow and joining us live and being a part of this. It's going to be very, very, very interesting to see how things transcend and unfold. Yes, absolutely. So thank you all. It's been an honor and a privilege as always.
You've been listening to Dearjames Live. Gain intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions and so much more by tuning in next week and visiting Dearjames.com.